Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast episode of the Parenting Diaries. Today, we have with us a very special guest, Mrs. Meenakshee Dhingra. She is also a great friend of mine. She has 35 plus years of experience in education and coaching. Today, she is helping multitudes of people as an education consultant as well as a purpose coach. She has also brought up beautifully her daughter Ashna, who is a dental surgeon and working as a healthcare consultant in an international firm. The reason she is here on this platform is not only because she was able to achieve great academic success for her daughter, but also instilled great value systems and confidence in her child through her entire journey. And I was amazed at the great parenting techniques she's been adopting, which I have not heard before. I'm sure you also will be enjoying this interview with her and learning some new parenting tips. So let's welcome Meenakshi to our stage. All right, so welcome Meenakshi for this particular forum. Here we are going to have a lot to learn from you, I know, because of the amazing experience you have as a parent. And I know you're also there in the forum of coaching and counseling. So looking forward to have a great, entertaining discussion for all the parents who are waiting to hear from us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tresa, for having me here. And I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful time together.
All right. Okay. So as we start, if you can elaborate a little bit about how your child's childhood from till now, the journey has been, and what is the support system and how did it go along? Then we'll pick up some of the special experience you would like to share.
Okay, normally I'm an educator also. So, good 30 plus years I've spent as an educator. And you would normally hear an educator say that, are you an educator by choice or because of the circumstances? I would say parenting also came to me not because of choice, but because of circumstances, kind of. After I got married, although we had decided about getting into parenthood after 2 years of marriage, but somewhere there was a fear in my husband's mind that might lead to kind of complications and things like that, because he had probably seen that in his friend circle. And so after we got married, he said we're not going to try out any kind of contraceptive methods or anything. And I conceived immediately after marriage, and within 9 months my daughter was here in this world. Mentally, I was still getting adjusted to the marriage part while a new role came on to me, and I wasn't ready for it. Luckily for me, my parents were there as a full-time support for me. They were there to take the role of the parent. They looked after my child's initial years, and I was more than willing to give it to them. I wasn't ready to be a mother in my mind, in my head. My body went through all those things, but my head was not ready for it.
I can understand.
And then I had a difficult pregnancy also, difficult delivery also. So I went through a day full of labor pains, and then also there was a cesarean done, and then my daughter came into this world. So it was so exhausting. I was tired after bringing her into this world. So tired that I was like, okay, my job done. Don't ask anything more from me. That was the initial part. And I'm so lucky. I thank God for this, that my parents were there to take on that role at that time. Around, I would say, 2 years, I was still struggling to accept that I have become a mother. And thereafter, of course, I took on the role. Yes. But those first 2 years, I still feel I missed out on being a mother because I wasn't completely into it. I was with her, but I wasn't completely into it. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets on that?
The only regret is that, those memories that people create, although I have it, her first walk happened in front of me only. The first time she started speaking something, weirdly, she did not say mama, papa. She started one day, suddenly started speaking glass, 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 and she went on rattling this word, glass, glass, glass. So that also happened in front of me. But all that the parents do, massaging the child, bathing the child, all those experiences, I did not have. All that was taken care of by my mother. So yeah, sometimes I feel I missed out on that. But somewhere I think I actually became a mother after 2 years. So that's not a part of my life only.
All right. So let's move ahead. After 2 years, what happened?
So after 2 years, when she was there, that's when my guilt also started setting in. I was working and 2.5, I had put her in a preschool. She didn't cry when she went to preschool, but she went very quiet. And I remember after about 5, 6 months of her being in a play school, one day I taken a leave and I was at home. And when she came back from the school bus, and I was there at the bus stop to receive her, and there was a big smile on her face, and she said, "Oh, today Mama has come to take me."
Oh.
And tears started trickling down my face. It was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my child? I'm not giving her these pleasures also. And that day I decided I'm resigning. I actually resigned. I went into so much of guilt that I haven't given time to my child at all. And these are the years when she needs me and I'm focusing on my work. And I resigned and I didn't give any time to my bosses also. I said, nothing doing. I'm mailing my resignation. You better accept it. But you know what the guilt cycle of a working mother is? If you are working, you have the guilt of not spending time with your child. And the moment you leave your job, you have the guilt of not putting your education to use.
Exactly.
Within a few months, that also set in. Thankfully for me, my principal at that time, very wise lady, she said, Meenakshi, I'm keeping your resignation in my drawer. I'm not accepting it. Knowing you, I know you will come back very soon. And she was so right. So, yeah. And I think the very next session, I was back in school and back being a mother, accepting that this some or the other guilt is going to stay with me. But then I consciously started making time for my daughter. And since I was also in a school only, so we could kind of, I would also come back by 3 and she was home by 12. And, 2, 3 hours, my parents would look after her and then I would be there. So I think we worked out a way to be with each other.
Very good. Fantastic. So, through the entire journey of your child's life, may I ask you how old is your daughter now?
Oh, my daughter is in her beautiful 30s. She's 32.
Okay. I would really want to understand that throughout the entire phase, which is the phase which you had most of the challenges or a tough time, confusing?
Most of the challenges were her board exams times. Those were boards for me, actually, not for her. So I think when she was in class 9 till class 12, post that, the moment she went into college, I don't think those were very challenging. But those 4, 5 years were pretty challenging for me because that's when, till that time, very early in her primary school itself, I had allowed her to become independent. I had allowed her to take charge of her academics herself. From class 3 upwards, I had withdrawn. I wasn't giving her any kind of a support. I just made clear to her that I'm available, but I'm not going to be the one sitting with you, helping you with your homework, helping you with your projects, asking you, are you prepared for your test or not? No. I wasn't doing that. And she was a very independent child right from the time she was born, I would say. Very independent in her choices, whatever she wanted to do. And when I say that she is one person with her head on her shoulders, she really is. Right from the time she was born, she goes by her own decisions, her own instincts. So that way, I didn't have much role to play. But when she came to class 9, you hear everybody talking so much about boards, boards, boards. And me being in the school system, I was also saying the same things to my students. I wasn't doing it at home, but I was kind of playing similar pressurizing role for my students also. So somehow that came in, and I made her, write down 100% in front of her on her display board that you must see it every day and then you will get, 100% in the exams. And she did it because I told her to do it. But much later, when we started talking about things, she said, you asked me to write it down, I wrote it down, but I never aspired towards getting 100% marks. So I think I was more pressurized in my head during all of that time. I probably did pass on some pressure to her, but she wasn't. She wasn't pressurized. It was more challenging for me, not for her, I would say.
And you said a very interesting point that she was very independent right from when she was in 3rd standard, and how you let her make her own choices. It's very nice when our children get independent and they are able to make choices. But did it ever happen that she took some choices which was not aligned with your choices, and you also felt that probably those choices may hurt her or harm her in the future?
Oh, quite often, I would say. Even as a little child, I remember I always wanted her to dress up as a Barbie doll, all nice, cute frocks and dresses and all. And she was a tomboy right from the very beginning. I
Okay.
can't remember that she wore a frock after the age of maybe 18 months or so.
Oh man.
Before she was 2, I remember her picking up dresses of her own size from the market. She would pick up a t-shirt and shorts of her own size. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it even then. I can't believe it now, but just the right size t-shirts and shorts, t-shirts and jeans. This is what she wore all her childhood. And she could pick it up herself. And I did not agree with that. I would not be able to agree with it. It took me a little while, but then I honored her choices that way. So what I'm trying to say is, it might seem a very small thing that you are allowing your child to choose clothes of her own choice, but it went a long way. It made a lot of difference. Right from the beginning, it gave her the confidence that she can take her own decisions.
Very nice.
You
Very
know?
beautifully said. I think many parents will be listening to this and taking this as a guidance, because sometimes, especially when the children are small, and I can hear from you, it's just below 2 years. We all think that, oh, the children don't know what is right and wrong for them, and we pick up choices for them and we make choices for them. And at such a young age, you as a mother gave her that freedom and choice, and that gives a long run benefit, that the child becomes more confident in their decisions and choices. So hats off to you. And yeah, definitely, like some, I remember that saying says, choose your battles wisely. It doesn't matter, these petty things don't matter, that if they don't wear a frock and they wear a tomboy, it's fine, just let them enjoy.
Yeah, in the long run, it doesn't matter, no? But it was, I think it's more in the head of the parents that this is the kind of dresses the children should wear. And they don't want. I bought all those pretty frilly pink dresses for her and all the hair clips and everything. She never even touched them, you know? I still have a couple of them kept with me, but she never wore them. Uh,
Yeah.
Maybe I think for first 2 or 3 months, it made me think. I wasn't disturbed. I wouldn't say that. It made me think why she doesn't wear it. But then I accepted it that she likes to wear a different kind of attire, and she does. And now after she's grown up, she wears everything: Indian dresses and I mean all the salwar suits and everything.
Now,
So
apart from this choice, decision making power, what are the other values or talents or qualities you just admire in your daughter, and which you think you have contributed as a parent?
I think she's God's gift for me. I truly believe that.
Okay.
She's a much evolved soul than me. And I think because I've seen as an educator, I've seen thousands of teenagers, I've worked with them. I think she's a much more evolved person as compared to many, many, many of them. In the sense, not just that, right from the beginning, she knew what she wanted. She still knows what she wants in life. Very clear, very, very clear about what she wants. Also, she knows how to put her thoughts across in a decent manner without hurting the other person. There were years, her teenage years, when she did flip a little to the side of being a little harsh and rude. But that those were the teenage years, and also around that time I had lost my husband. So yeah, probably the trauma also manifested in that manner. But other than that, she always has been able to express her views in a very decent and a very clear manner. And now I teach about healthy boundaries, but I think she already knew about her boundaries and she could spell things very, very firmly to people. She wasn't afraid of taking decisions or making choices which fell out of the norm. I'll just tell you a small incident here. When she was in class 11, she had to make choice of subjects, and psychology was just popping up at that time. She was interested in taking psychology, but back then psychology was not given to science students. It was a part of humanities subject stream. Now she wanted sciences because she did not like social sciences. So she wanted her sciences, she wanted biology, she wanted chemistry, but she wanted psychology with it. And the school would not give it to her. She went to the principal. She said, I want to study psychology. You give it to me. And because of me being also in the school system, I knew that the schools are supposed to give us the choices. So she could argue that CBSE has this rule and you cannot deny me my right. But then the principal said, okay, great, but we need to have at least 4 or 5 students for this to appoint a teacher for this reason. She said, fine, I'll convince some people. And by the time class 11 actually started, they normally start the session in the month of April itself. But actual class 11 academic starts in July. So by July, she already had 6 students
Wow.
enrolled in psychology, and they had to give it to them.
That's
So what I'm trying to say is, she may pick up something out of the norm, and if that requires certain kind of effort, even if it's very, very demanding, she will then go all in and make that effort and make it happen. If she decides to, she will make it happen.
okay. Very
That is.
good. That's a great and amazing trait missing in today's children, because they will just easily give up also sometimes. And I
Yeah.
really feel proud that your daughter went that way. And actually, does it happen that any of the incident happened which you think you have helped her or influenced her in some way that she is coming up to this level where she is able to challenge things in the system?
Like I told you, right from when she was in class 3, I had stepped away for her academic things. But what I did was, I used to kind of spend at least around 45 minutes to 1 hour with her, just talking. And not talking about random films or cartoons or any such thing. She was fond of cartoons, I remember. But we would talk about situations, behaviors, uh, and what we put in the bracket of self-help now, like how time is managed, how timetable is made, uh, communication skills, the value systems, all sorts of these topics. I would sit and talk to her about, okay, if there was a situation, if she brought it to me, and I would talk to her about, acha, what do you think? Why did the other person behave this way? Why did you actually end up having a fight? We would go into a lot of whys and hows. And so, quite an intellectual interaction I would have with her, which was not academic at all, which did not have an agenda. Now, when I think about it, I think back in my head, I had the agenda of inculcating a strong value system in her.
Very, very good. Fantastic. And this is a great discovery. I'm sure while
Yeah.
we were discussing
Yeah.
this
So what I want to
call.
say is here, Tresa, is that because, I now see the fruits of that effort. No matter what situation she has gone through, very tough situations also at time, tough, maybe projected from my end as as a helicopter mother, I did go through the phases of that also, or handling the trauma that happened in the family, or the pressures of bullying in a medical school, the academic pressures in a medical school, or even now, like, going to a new city, finding an accommodation for her own self, doing everything by her own self. Each of these are situations which can put a person in a compromising mind also. And somebody may make compromises, may compromise on values. But if the values are deep rooted right from childhood, I have seen, they will take the front seat. They will be the forerunners of how you take your decisions. And that I've seen in my daughter, how she's handled her life all these years is because of the strong value system, no matter
Very
what.
good. Very good. That's a very interesting topic you've brought to the table, because I see so many parents who have an agenda which is more closely connected with success, ambitions, achievements, academic, sports, but nobody talks much about values. They assume that my child will get it inherited by on their own. It doesn't happen. You really have to take time and effort, the way you took, Meenakshi, to sit and diagnose and analyze each and every situation they undergo in their life, to help them to see it through a different angle, and probably then figure out why they did it, how they did it, and what they could have done differently. So all those discussions does matter. The children may feel it's time pass, but actually it's a way of doing a better parenting and instilling values subconsciously at that level. So wonderful. One of the point which you mentioned was that your daughter is very good in putting the point across without hurting anyone, but she did have this aspect little difficult in her teenagers. From her teenagers till now, what evolved or what changed, or at what point of time she realized that probably I'm hurting people and I should stop? Is there anything you can recollect?
I think that too again required conversations between me and her. There were times that we were at loggerheads with each other, that whatever she said would hurt me and whatever I said would agitate her. I think that too has to be accepted by parents as a phase. This is going to happen. And it's all a hormonal chaos that's happening at that time.
It comes,
And
yeah.
if we just embrace it that this is happening and this will also pass away, then we are able to go through it. Otherwise we can end up being hurt and end up being ugly with each other. So I think we had that acceptation. I think I accepted her that she's going through her teenage, and that's why these loud behaviors are on display. And I think she also accepted that. I think I was very open with her. I told her that at times when I go loud or I ask her too many questions, it's because I'm too worried and too paranoid as a parent. I told her because when she was studying in a different city and I had just lost my husband, and I was like, I'm all alone, she's all alone, so all those fears would play in my head, and those would get projected in our conversations. So I think I very openly admitted it to her that if I am asking you too many questions, or if I'm limiting your time out, for what time you can be out of the hostel or something, it's coming from where? So I think being very open in conversation led us to respecting each other's vulnerabilities. It's very important. We as parents don't show our vulnerabilities to our children. We like being the god for them. We like being on a pedestal for them. No, let's show them that you are also human. Show them that you also have your emotional insecurities. It's all right. They understand.
I think that's also you have put on so beautifully that when parents behave in a certain way, what the children sees on the prima facie, their anger, their scolding, but very less do children have the wisdom to understand the insecurity feeling or the worry or the concern the parent has for them. So sometimes it is required as a parent for you express it a little more openly. There's nothing wrong if we show that I'm worried about you, I'm concerned about you, I can't see you going there and maybe something will happen. It's okay to tell them that you are also a human being and you are also worried and concerned, because then they can relate why my dad or mom is behaving like this. And next time they will empathize with you and they'll understand the emotions. Yeah, definitely that's a good one, Meenakshi, because when any parent is expressing the way they are, if they at least give the reason why they have. And I remember an incident of my children's also, when you said this, I just remembered that something, when a child does, like my daughter was just 8 or 10 years old, and she was drinking the glass of water and she was supposed to put it at the table. That's what we have instructed her. And she was busy playing and she just put the glass there. And my husband had told her n number of times. But instead of that, she did that. And he got so wild. He just came from office and when he saw he was very angry, just give one back. And she just looked at him with anger. And he's looking at her. But nobody's communicating why, when, how. He could have just told you, I had told you to put the glass there, because if you put the glass here, there's water in that, and if somebody spills the water, it will be all over the place. If your grandma is walking, they can get hurt. He could have given some scientific reason, logical, why he is doing that out of concern. Instead of that, the blast happened. And I was thinking, if at that moment, what is the emotions happening? He's angry because she's not listening to my instruction, and the child is upset that, what did I do wrong? It's okay. I just kept the glass of water here. I don't spill the water, right? So there's so much thing going on between two human beings. And if we can just be open enough and share what is the logic behind it, sometimes the children help to understand it better. And yeah, if every daughter might not be like yours to connect with the mothers very fast, I can see that your child is little more emotional and psychologically alienated there. But the other children, they use a lot of logic also. It's like, emotions of side पे रखो, क्यों चाहिए, क्यों करना है? So you have to explain sometimes, and then it helps somewhere. So
Yeah,
children
Tresa,
also.
I must say this here. I have done soul study, also soul journey.
Okay. Okay.
So after I did that, I came to a conclusion that probably my soul is younger in age than her soul. Soul wise, if you see the soul age, she is a much more evolved soul. Her wisdom is at another level. Her universal connect with the universal energies is much more evolved. So probably in that sense, if you think about it, yes, she's a much evolved soul, elder to me in age. I'm still a childlike in soul wise, I would say. But then when you were talking about this incident about the glass of water, again, I would always say, I tell when I'm doing coaching for parents also, I always tell them that for teenage to go smoothly, you have to start preparing much in advance. It's not that when my child will be 13, then I will start behaving like I should be behaving as a parent of teenager. No. You probably might have to start when the child is at 7 or 8 years of age. I remember, as I told you, right from when she was 2 years old, even though there were decisions that she would make which just did not go with the way I thought, I learned to respect her decision. Like I would say, tell you a small incident, a small habit of hers is that after we eat food, normally it's the kids in the family who pick up everybody's plates and they put it in the sink. That's the way the culture of our house is. But she would never do it. She always refused to. She would pick her plate and put it in the sink, but she refused to pick up anybody else's. Now this, because extended family always makes remarks, like, she doesn't do this also, why don't you pick up our plate also? And she would say, no, I'll keep mine, you keep your own. She would just say that much. So after observing her and after talking to her, then I learned that this is something that she doesn't find good. She doesn't want to touch anybody else's used utensils. She doesn't like touching that. So I started telling the extended family, this is something she doesn't like. We have to respect it. So I think these are very small things, but by doing these things, you start showing the importance of self-respect to the child. Because there is something that she doesn't like, she doesn't want to compromise on it, respect it. It goes a long way. Again, I would say that's what has made her a non-compromising person even later in life. Yeah. Small things like this.
They tell, right, that if you really want a great leader to be your child to be a great leader, then you have to nurture them as a leader right from their childhood. Suddenly you can't expect that after they become 21 years, they'll convert into a leader. You'll start seeing the nakras of a leader right from home, and you have to nurture it in the right way. If you stop it there, then you can't expect him to be a leader when they grow big. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And I have also seen that in my daughters also, like when they were also coming up, and when they used to come and say, Mama, that relative came and told me something and I just didn't. So I said, okay, so what should we do about it? Do you want me to come and support you? Or would you like to put a point across? And she was around 13 years old. Mama, is it okay if I say something? I said, yes, you can say, but put it in such a way that you don't disrespect that auntie. And in case that auntie says anything bad to you, I'm there to support. But first, you have to put across your point. I didn't want them to show that always your mama is there to protect you and guide you there. You have to learn to stand for yourself. And when that happened, I'm actually nurturing that confidence in them that wherever you go, in any society, you don't have to get so scared that, oh, they are so senior to me, I have to bear everything. No, if you feel something is uncomfortable happening, raise your voice in a very respectful way. And still you see something going wrong, then I'm there behind you to hold you. So
yeah, otherwise later in life, they will end up enrolling for healthy boundary courses.
So they will not realize that part. And see, when it comes to daughters, I think we all connect with that. They will be going to different places, different homes, different families. We have to teach them in the right way. We don't want them to get completely suppressed wherever they go. They should
workplaces, Tresa, workplaces are very dangerous, environment for children these days. And if girls don't learn how to draw the boundary there, how to speak their own mind, what's okay with them and what's not okay with them, if we haven't taught them right from the beginning, if it hasn't gone into their persona, they will not be able to suddenly learn this and, apply it in life. So it's very important to nurture them that way. I know my daughter knows very clearly where to tell even her bosses, this is not okay with me. She will say that if there's something, and she's shared incidents with me where she just stood up and she said, look, this is not working with me. It's not going with my value system. She uses these words. It's not going with my value system. Period.
Fantastic. So I've seen that the way you've nurtured and how you have inculcated the parenting practices, which has brought your daughter to that level. As we conclude now, Meenakshi, would you like to give any advice to today's parents, for millennial parents, and bringing up Gen Z and Alpha generation children? What can they do, especially during the challenging phase of teenage? What they can do so that the journey becomes more smooth?
I always feel that parenting is as much of a learning process for the parents as it is a growing up process for the child. You have to accept that you were born the day the child was born, and you have to grow the way the child is growing. If you're open to growing, if you're open to learning, the child is there to teach you a lot of things. All you have to do is keep your eyes and ears open, your heart sensitive enough to sense what is the child trying to convey, maybe in words, maybe just through gestures, maybe just through their eyes. Obviously, children will not be able to, stand up to their parents and speak out. Mine was an exceptional one who would, right in the very beginning, if there was something, if we would probably be angry with her about something, she would just stand up and say, "Par pehle meri to sun lo." You know, that way. So there are very few children who would do that, but they do communicate through their eyes a lot. So if you're open to read them, whether millennial or the
Gen Z
old
or not.
60s ke parents or anybody, it's the same for everyone. The
Correct.
only new challenge I feel with the millennials is that they are all so much into self growth, career wise or personality wise, that somewhere that growth as a unit, a family as a unit, is getting lost. That is getting diluted. I always feel that, a family which moves together, learns together, simple thing as eats together, grows much better as human beings. As parenting will be also much better. There's no formula, that you can give to any parent. Do this because you're a millennial parent. No, you learn, you evolve, and you learn with your child. There might be a formula that I will give you because that is the way I became a parent,
Correct.
but that may not apply to your parenting. So whatever are the generalized rules, do tweak them as per your style, your child's needs. That's very, very important. I just feel all you need to do is be open to learning. Don't think that you know everything just because you're an adult, just because you've crossed 18 and now you have become adult gives you no authority to kind of apply your style on the child. A 2-year-old child can teach you a lot of lessons only if you're willing to learn them.
Beautifully, beautifully said. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, there is no formula. Even if you have the same parent with multiple children, each child is different and each formula is different. I've experienced myself. But yeah, the ground principles lay the same. You have to be receptive. You should be able to sense your child's needs and requirements and tweak your parenting accordingly. If you're open to that flexibility and learning, then I think we can have a wonderful and great journey of parent pride. Thank you once again, Meenakshi, for being here and giving such nuggets of wisdom to all the parents. I'm sure they must have picked up a lot of things which will help them in their parenting journey as well. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me. I had lovely interacting with you. It's always great talking to you and how you bring in your own personal examples also. I just love that.
Thanks.
Thank you.